everyone, for taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy Tuesday to join us for today's NeedyMeds special topic webinar, Free Resources for Prostate Cancer Patients. My name is Carla. I am the Director of Education at NeedyMeds. And before we kick off today's presentation, I want to go over a few points. You can feel free to type any questions you may have throughout the webinar into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. Just know that we will reserve answering questions until the end. If we don't have the time to answer your specific question before the webinar wraps up, please know we will follow up with you personally via email after the webinar by tomorrow afternoon or so. Of course, though, I will provide you contact information for both NeedyMeds and our partnering organization, Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, at the end of the webinar as well. Also, the heads up that in the handout section of your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll find a PDF of both my PowerPoint presentation and, more importantly, a copy of Drew's PowerPoint presentation for your reference and future use. If you have difficulty accessing or download that, you can shoot me a message to let me know that that's presenting a challenge for you, and I'd be happy to send you one via email. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be converted into a video and posted on the NeedyMeds YouTube channel soon. And you can find access to our YouTube channel in the top right hand of our homepage. You'll see a bunch of social media icons, and one of those icons will be a little red box for YouTube. So with that, let's get started with the presentation. For those of you that are not familiar with NeedyMeds, we are a national nonprofit dedicated to educating and empowering those seeking affordable health care. And that's a snapshot of our mission statement right there up on our screen. And as I just said, and you can see that education is a big piece of what we do. And we really define the education portion of our mission in two ways. One, certainly by letting people know about NeedyMeds and the resources we have to offer, by also letting them know about other ways to stay healthy, which is why we are so pleased to have our guest from Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, Drew Salins. So before I pass the mic over to Drew, bear with me just for a moment, I want to talk just a bit about Zero, the organization, and then tell you a little bit about Drew. Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, is the leading national nonprofit with the mission to end prostate cancer. Zero advances research, improves the lives of men and families, and inspires action. So now let me tell you a bit about our guest host. Drew Salins is the Vice President of Government Affairs and Patient Advocacy at Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer. In his role, Drew leads Zero's fight for increased prostate cancer research funding, access to early detection and screening, which is so important, and other public policies that, again, help men and their families battle prostate cancer. Drew's background is in health policy and reimbursement consulting. He's also secured funding to reduce patients' financial toxicity associated with high out-of-pocket requirements, while leading the development team at the largest co-payment assistance foundation in the country. Drew holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Richmond, and he also obtained his MBA, his Master's of Business Administration and Government, from Johns Hopkins University. So you can see why, with that expertise and resume, why we are so thrilled to have him sharing his expertise with the NeedyMeds audience. So with that, I'm going to attempt to pass the mic and the screen very smoothly to Drew so that he can take it away for today's presentation. And again, as a reminder, as Drew's pulling up his screen, don't forget that you can feel free to type any questions you may have throughout Drew's presentation into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. With that, I'll pass the mic and the screen to Drew. Thanks, Drew, and enjoy.
So thank you, Carla, and thanks everybody for joining today. I'm really happy that you've taken an interest in these resources for prostate cancer patients and their families. So today we're going to talk about two programs that Zero offers. But first, just to dive a little bit more into what we do, as Carla said, our main mission topics are advancing research, encouraging action, and providing education and support. So the main way that we advance research is through advocacy on Capitol Hill, specifically for funding in the Department of Defense Prostate Cancer Research Program. And over the last 2 years, we've been able to secure 2 increases for funding in that program in the amount of $10 million each year. So the program's at a total of $100 million for research grants after being at $80 million for 11 years. So we're really happy that basically that $10 million is getting more shots on goal, and the more shots on goal we get with research, the better chance we have at finding a way to make this a chronic illness. Over the years, we've had 859 projects out of that program. There are 31 other programs that the CDM, the Prostate Cancer Research Program, is a part of, and over $1.1 billion in research has been allocated to mainly academic institutions around the country to do that research. So another main tenet of our organization is providing education and support. And today we're going to talk about 0360 as well as Decode Your Prostate Cancer. But we also have an educational suite of materials both online and in print. And those materials range from newly diagnosed toolkit all the way to information about survivorship. We provide grants around the country to help with free PSA testing. And we also have a Zero mentor program where men can connect one-on-one with other men who have gone through the treatment they're considering or the treatment that they are currently utilizing. We also have a run-walk series in 42 cities around the country. And in that middle box, you can see that part of that money goes towards local grants, boots on the ground, organizations that have an impact on educating and providing services for men with prostate cancer. 84 cents out of every dollar that we raise goes to help men with prostate cancer and their families. And actually, I believe that is now 85 cents after our recent financial filing. We're a 4-star charity navigator, Better Business Bureau accredited, and for the last 5 years, we've been ranked in the Nonprofit Times Best Nonprofits to Work For, and I definitely feel privileged to work at Zero on behalf of men and their families. So in November 2016, we started a comprehensive patient support program that we're calling 0360. And the reason that we started the program is we had a large survey of 600 prostate cancer patients asking what their greatest need was. And what came out of that survey was that they needed help with insurance navigation, finding financial assistance, and ancillary costs. And that need can be made tangible by this quote that was written to us by one of the people that we were helping. He says, "The cost of care has turned over my whole world and put me in depression trying to figure out how to pay for the treatment. We had to move out of our house and live in our camper trailer at a county park to keep up with the medical bills. I'm still working as much as I can to keep my medical insurance." So this program is to prevent these extreme actions of having to give up your own home and move into a trailer. And also, we don't want people to feel tied to employment after many years of working hard, and especially while they're sick, we don't want them to feel tied to employment. We want to make sure that we can help them find resources and programs that they're entitled to. So the program has helped 667 men this year, and I hope we'll get a few people that will be able to take advantage of the program out of today's webinar. And through the case management work, we've been able to recoup over $330,000 for patients. So that can be overturning a claim that was denied. That can be finding a free drug program for somebody who's uninsured. But we're able to account for $330,000 so far this year. The program is able to recoup that money by enrolling people in proper benefit and entitlement programs that they're qualified for. They might not know that they're qualified for them, or they might not know how to access them. We help with financial toxicity by getting people involved in nutrition assistance programs or finding them energy grants within their local states. And one innovative way to help the uninsured find access to their prescribed medications that they may not be able to afford is to find appropriate clinical trials that are nearby. And then coupled with that, sometimes we're able to find transportation assistance so that someone can get to those clinical trials. And then we also are able to find local emotional support programs. And obviously, like I said, we have our national support program, the mentor program as well. So to get a little more specific on how the case managers can help a patient, well, like I said, they can help enroll in free drug programs, which are sometimes called patient assistance programs. They can help you enroll and find appropriate manufacturer copay cards. So these are assistance cards that are offered by the actual drug company who makes the drug. And then there are charitable foundations for Medicare patients, Medicaid patients, TRICARE, anyone insured by the government can access charitable foundations. And often, it's been a little choppy as of late, but often charitable foundations have funding for prostate cancer and metastatic prostate cancer patients. So they can access those programs. They know when they're open. They know the way to get people enrolled quickly. For insurance, as you all may know, on the marketplaces and exchanges, there are different metal tiers and subsidies. So the navigator can help patients find the right tier and get them qualified for a subsidy that helps them out the most. We can help them get enrolled in Medicaid. Medigap, as some of you know, is a wraparound to Medicare Part B, which can be very helpful at reducing costs. And then some patients might not be on Medicare Part D because it's optional, and patients who are might qualify for the low-income subsidy under Medicare Part D, and we can help get people enrolled in that and let them know that they're qualified. So one interesting aspect of Social Security is there's a compassionate allowance for metastatic prostate cancer patients to be enrolled in the Social Security Disability Income Program. And when you're enrolled in SSDI, you can qualify for Medicaid. And that can obviously help a lot with the cost of medications, not only for prostate cancer, but any comorbidities that you might have. And so the navigators can help people understand how to access the Social Security Disability Income Compassionate Allowance for metastatic prostate cancer. Other services include claims appeals and letters of medical necessity. So you don't have to battle the insurance company on your own. We have experts who understand the language, understand the right coding, understand the right forms and context to fill out, and they can help you with those as well. And as I mentioned earlier, they can help enroll people in nutrition assistance programs and some state-based electricity grants. So this is a gentleman who's been in our community for a while. He's 61, metastatic prostate cancer patient, most importantly, a grandfather. And he accessed our 0 through 60 program, and he talks about how he was transitioning from commercial insurance to Medicare, and he says he got educated by his case manager about the process, and she made numerous phone calls on his behalf, and it was a gift getting that specific expertise. A couple more quotes about how the program has helped. So it's a very high-touch program, about 15 contacts per case. And you can see here this patient says, after your help with many phone calls, letters, and verbal and written appeals, my health insurance company decided to grant my appeal from out-of-network to in-network. This saved me hundreds of dollars, and so I appreciate your support in this matter. So again, it's utilizing that expertise. You have a care team, but we want patients to also have a team of experts that can help them get through the complex medical system. And then another thank you from a wife of a prostate cancer patient. We often find that because the man is sick, one, but two, because people tend to not care for themselves the way they would care for a loved one. And so conversely, a loved one often cares for somebody else in a greater way than than the person cares for themselves. And so we often find that wives are the ones calling into both of the programs we're talking about today. But she says, I would like to sincerely thank you for your attentive perseverance throughout our conference calls with our doctor's office, Medicare, pharmacy, and insurance company. While a cancer diagnosis is difficult in itself, the endless difficulty in communication with healthcare companies is even more difficult. Thank you so much for your assistance in getting us the help we needed. So again, it really is having someone else on the team of the family that's battling prostate cancer. And I'll go through one case study that is pretty specific and comprehensive, so you can really get a flavor for how this can help you or people you know or patients you might manage. So unfortunately, a 56-year-old man was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. He had also recently lost his job and as a result had to move in with his daughters. He had unpaid medical bills previously, and obviously with the loss of his job, no income. And like a lot of Americans, he didn't have savings, at least enough to cover the medical bills he was incurring. So he came to us needing help applying for Social Security disability income and the food assistance program. And so the case manager coordinated calls with the Social Security Administration, which if you've dealt with any government bureaucracy or even, tried to go renew your driver's license, you can know how hard that is. So it's great to have somebody in your corner. They were on the call with Social Security Administration twice for multiple hours and weren't able to get anywhere. And so finally, they tried to apply online, and the coordinator helped the patient understand what information he would need in order to apply online, gather all those documents so they could do it in one sitting, and they were able to successfully get into the Social Security disability income program, which, as I mentioned earlier, has compassionate allowance for metastatic prostate cancer patients, and then that qualifies you for Medicaid. So he also got retroactive coverage to help him with medical bills that had already been incurred. And as a result of being in the Medicaid program, 12 other medications, aside from what he was trying to get help for, which was chemotherapy for prostate cancer, were covered. So he had comorbidities, but getting on Medicaid really had multiple benefits. Unfortunately, he was hospitalized, but the case manager kept working with him and was able to get an expedited nutrition assistance application. And obviously, when you're fighting off the disease and going through chemotherapy, it's really important that you have access to food that will help your body be strong enough to deal with the chemo. So those are some quotes and case studies about how in-depth and comprehensive the program is. And so I hope that if you are a patient, if you're a loved one of a patient, if you are a facility that helps prostate cancer patients or a social worker, that you will utilize this free program for prostate cancer patients, because it really can help them change their life and feel confident accessing their benefits that they're entitled to, and feel confident continuing therapy or initiating therapy. So that is our 0360 program. We are in partnership with the Patient Advocate Foundation. You can see the number to call, as well as there's a portal in which you can enroll online 24 hours a day as well. And we also have the information on our website at zerocancer.org. So that's our case management program. And we are lucky enough to have several industry sponsors that keep this program going. Obviously, they understand that it takes a lot of resources to access care and negotiate the insurers. So the second program I'd like to talk about today is a molecular profiling program, and we call it Decode Your Prostate Cancer. We've been lucky enough to be granted 100 spots for a trial, a pilot program, and we have used about 10% of those so far, and we hope that there are some folks that can benefit from this today. So the molecular profiling program is open to any man with metastatic prostate cancer. Has to be advanced and outside of the prostate and metastasized. And what it does is it allows the tumor to be sequenced and therefore better understood. And with the sequencing of that tumor, the technology behind it, as well as the oncologists on the tumor board, can find clinical trials and on and off-label drugs that might work for that patient's specific tumor sequencing. So from that information, a care team could craft an individualized and customized plan. And this is really the future of medicine. And just to be fully transparent, like I said, there's a 100-patient pilot. We're trying to get data to see if this type of individualized medicine works and improves outcome. This technology with our partner Perthera has increased overall survival in the pancreatic cancer community, and so we're testing it now in the prostate cancer community. Here's a quote from one of the families that went through the program. My husband, Ted, and I are very grateful that Zero made us aware that a program like Decode Your Prostate Cancer even exists, because it could lead to an even better treatment for Ted, and we would have no idea how to find otherwise. Keep up the wonderful work and all you do. And the reason that it's really difficult, and you guys probably have experience with this, is the FDAtrials.gov website is difficult to navigate, and you really have to have a PhD or an MD to even understand what it means. So even when you can find the prostate cancer trials that might be in your area, with all the different requirements and sequencing and everything, it's not something that is really accessible to people like you and me. And the other problem is that your doctor has dozens, if not hundreds, of patients, and so more than likely he's not going to sit down and sift through FDAtrials.gov himself and see what's available. He's going to try to treat you with the standard of care, which is great. But with this type of technology, there may be a hope, at least, like this woman says, to find additional treatments that may be available either on label, off label, or in clinical trial. So the process is to go to the zerocancer.org website, and under the Get Support option, there's the Decode Your Prostate Cancer program. There'll be a consent form that you'll need to fill out, and then if you fill that out, Perthera will contact you about getting a consent from you to get your tissue sample and to talk to your doctor. So once that happens, they'll send your tissue sample out to 2 labs who will do a complete battery of genomic testing, multi-omic testing, osteomics, all these omics, and come up with a tumor sequence for you. Once they get that back, a virtual tumor board, a medical review panel of oncologists will review your specific case, and the profile will go through the intelligence engine that will say, okay, for this profile, here's the literature on and off-label drugs, as well as local clinical trials that might be accessed by the patient. And then from that, a report will come out for both the patient and the doctor that will rank based on both the tumor board's input and the intelligence engine technology, which is basically a bunch of 8 different databases that are linked. They'll rank the possibilities for you. And so it's a 25-page report, but I have taken out basically one page that I think is really interesting to show you the result. So you'll see that they talk about the genomic findings and the protein findings, but what's really cool, I think, is on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that they actually have what they call a tumor molecular landscape, and so they're mapping how your tumor looks, and based on the test that they did. And so while this might not mean anything to you and I, to the pathologist that your oncologist works with, to your urologist, this could have an impact on how they might treat you. And then the really cool part of this report, which is the bottom of the page, bottom half of the page I just showed you, is the ranking. And so here you'll see the blue, which is A. Those are on-label drugs that scored high for this person's particular tumor sequencing. And then the greens are clinical trials available that are ranked and scored. And so you can see there are several of those. And then the purple are off-label treatments that ranked high for this person's particular sequencing. And you can see that there's 3 different inputs that tell us about the score. And so one's molecular, one's disease evidence, and one's the patient history, your actual treatment history and your specific case. And then they come up with a score for each. And so that's really the promise of this whole process. And it's not a short process, and it's not, there is effort that's required from the family, and the case managers work hard to get the samples and to work with the doctor. But this ranking is really the promise of it, to see what might be available that you may not have tried, or the patient has not tried yet. And this simple output is really what could drive a change in care and unlock something that was previously not known. So I hope that there's some people on the call who can take advantage of this technology and process, or that you might know some people or be able to distribute this information to some people. I think it's really interesting, and the future of medicine. Hopefully we can make this the standard of care, where everyone gets to know their personalized sequence of their tumor, and have access to the latest and greatest clinical trials, as well as on and off label therapy based on the most recent medical literature. And so if you have any questions, you can get in contact with me, or visit our website if you're ready to go, and just fill out the consent form, which is under the support, and then Decode Your Prostate Cancer. So with that, I will turn it back over to Carla. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or hopefully point you in the right direction, or find an answer for you if I'm not able to.
Drew, thank you so much for taking such an important but complicated topic and breaking it down for our audience. And really, hopefully, people will walk away with an enormous amount of hope. I always do. When you share what's been going on at your organization, Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, because there's really not only are there resources that are helping people in real time now, but all of the efforts that you're making to make sure that this fight gets easier and easier. So as always, thank you so much for that. I do see some questions already coming in from the audience. Drew, I'll ask you to go ahead and pass the screen back to me. If you're able to do that, that would be helpful. And again, please go ahead and submit any questions you may have, and you could do that by typing them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And if you don't have, if you're like me and the questions come flooding into your head as soon as you hang up, we will provide you with the contact information so that you can reach out to Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, at a later time. While I've got your attention, I want to point out a few things. If in general you are needing help affording medications, either related to prostate cancer or other health, you have other healthcare expense needs that aren't being met, please remember that NeedyMeds is a resource for you. Our goal is to connect people to programs free and anonymously through our website and toll-free helpline to help them save on or afford their healthcare expenses. And I always say healthcare expenses because that's certainly not limited to medications. And on your screen, I'm just pointing out a few of our more popular and cost-efficient ways to save money on your healthcare expenses. Those are through our robust database of prescription assistance programs, diagnosis-based assistance programs, coupons and rebates. And of course, as a safety net, we do offer a drug discount card. I want to stress that this is really a very brief snapshot of some of the more popular websites, destinations on our website. NeedyMeds does have more than 20,000 points of cost savings, so I certainly recommend perusing our website when you get a chance, or reach out to our expert call center counselor at 1-800-503-6897. And with that, what I want to put up on my screen, if my computer will work with me, just bear with me, everybody. There we go. While I take some questions, or more accurately, pass the questions along to Drew because the questions are coming in for him, I want to just put a snapshot up so you're aware that we try really hard here at NeedyMeds to populate our calendar with special topic webinars. So there's some coming up over the next few weeks. And you can register for those on the bottom right-hand side of the NeedyMeds homepage. You'll see a calendar of events, and you can see and sign up for all of our upcoming special topic webinars. So, Drew, we do have a bunch of questions coming in. The first one is, would you mind explaining a bit more about your nutrition assistance program? For example, people want to know, how does it work? Do they pay for food, nutritional supplements, or are you given a cash cards or a stipend?
Sure. So this is a good clarification. So the 0360 program does not actually give any financial assistance or money. What the program does is provide you with experts who can access those resources either from government sources or charitable sources or industry sources. And so the nutrition assistance programs that I was referencing are state-based programs that you might know by the acronym SNAP. Let's see, they used to be called, I'm blanking, but those are government-funded programs that are state by state. And obviously, like I said earlier, the government can be difficult to navigate and work with, and so these people at 0360 that can help you are experts at knowing how to access those programs and how to do it in the most expedient way possible.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, and thank you to our audience member for giving us the opportunity to do so. And that dovetails actually greatly because you mentioned states programs. One of the audience members wants to know, Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, do they provide assistance in specific states or nationwide?
So 0360, as well as all of our programs, are available to Americans in any state. And I shouldn't have even said Americans, just anyone who's living and receiving treatment here. And so no, there's no state-based. We're a national organization, and we're trying to impact the incidence and mortality of the disease in the United States.
Perfect. And thank you again to our audience member for clarifying that, because I really always feel like if there's one person in the audience thinking it, there's probably more than one. And that'll give me an opportunity also to mirror what Drew said about Zero, the end of prostate cancer, and NeedyMeds. Our goal also is that we do not provide direct financial assistance. Rather, we connect people to programs that will. And again, like Zero, the end of prostate cancer, we are accessible and will help anybody residing in our country. So another question coming in, Drew, is who can contact 0360?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like I said, the wives of many of the family members and daughters are often people who contact. So a family member who, is a direct caregiver is a good person to have contact 0360, because often they have the paperwork and the knowledge, and, the man is focused on fighting his disease. Also, a social worker could do a warm transfer or an initial enrollment, and same with a facility. You might have someone at discharge, for example, and just sit with them and try to do a warm transfer or do an online enrollment with them. I hope that answers your question. So it doesn't actually have to be the man. It could be a direct caregiver or someone like a social worker or a discharge planner that's helping the patient in some other way, but wants to provide a comprehensive resource to dig a little deeper, if that makes sense. Feel free to ask a follow-up question if I didn't answer that comprehensively.
I think that was very clear, Drew, and the audience seems to agree with me because they're not asking for clarification. So that's really helpful, and I think the point you made is that the person that has been diagnosed has their hands full just simply getting through their day-to-day and battling that diagnosis. So having a member of their healthcare team, and whether that team is loved ones and neighbors or family members, or whether it's a social worker or some other healthcare professional, the fact that they can reach out to Zero on their behalf and get the ball rolling is really, I think, crucially important. Another question coming in, Drew, is Decode available to everyone?
So it's available only to men with metastatic prostate cancer. And the reason for that is because the outcomes that we're trying to achieve, which is a longer lifespan through this individualized technology, is most impactful for a metastatic man. The 5-year survival rate for someone with localized prostate cancer is almost 100%. So the clinical literature and the way medicine is moving is really helping men who have the advanced disease that can be quite lethal. And so beyond that, the program is really open to anyone. Now, I will say that the best results are going to be for men who, I shouldn't say the best results, I'm not sure another way to say it. The program works best for men who have a tissue sample from their metastatic site within the last 2 years. Now, if you don't have that, they can do a blood biopsy. And I don't want to get out of my realm of expertise, which is certainly not clinical, but I believe that because the tumor can change molecularly, that's why they feel that if the tissue sample is over 2 years, that they're not really going to be doing you much benefit. And so they can use a blood biopsy to run a less comprehensive amount of tests. But the ideal person is someone who has a fresh biopsy tissue sample from the metastatic site within the last 2 years.
Thank you for clarifying that. And again, thank you to our audience member for giving us the chance to spell that out a little bit more. A couple of things I do want to stress, and we are going to wrap up, so if we haven't had the chance to answer your question, again, we'll follow up with you via email after the webinar. A few things I want to point out before we do wrap up. On your screen now is all of the contact points for Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, specifically as well as the hyperlink and phone number, both for 0360 and Zero Decode. You can get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, and I think you're going to want that because Drew has gone over so much important information, by clicking simply on the handout section of your GoToWebinar control panel. If you have difficulty accessing that, let me know and you can shoot me an email. I'd be happy to send you the PowerPoint presentation via email. Also, as I had said in the beginning of the webinar, this webinar has been recorded, and we will do our best to quickly convert it into a video to be posted on the YouTube channel. And we certainly encourage you not only to review the video, but share it with your loved ones, your clients, your patients. With that being said, another sort of call to action is, as you can tell from the breadth of resources Drew was able to cover in this short webinar, certainly visiting the Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer website, further checking into their program, specifically 0360 and Zero Decode, is something I really can't stress enough. With that, we do hope to stay in touch with both Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, and NeedyMeds. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And Drew, thanks again for sharing your expertise with the NeedyMeds audience. Oh, and Drew, one other thing. Feel free to email me if you're looking for further participants in these programs. If you want to go ahead and email me the link, we'd be happy to post it on our social media platforms.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, everybody, so much for taking the time to learn a bit about this. Do stay in touch, and hoping you're having a happy and healthy rest of the week. Take care.